The Story of Annette, rated TVMA-DSLV. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a little baby girl named Annette. She was born in 1930 to a handsome man named Zadie and his lovely bride whose name was Bubby. Later, she would change her name to Bubby Suzanne. Zadie was a handsome man. According to his immigration records, he was a tailor. According to everyone else, he was a shoemaker. He was born in the old world and always wore one of those boutonnieres that squirts water in your face. And he was a talented artist who watched wrestling on television. Bubby Suzanne was a beautiful, gracious, and practical woman who was born in a different old country. She was destined to become the powerful matriarch of one of Louisville's most Meshuggah families. Her daughter Annette was her second child and baby sister to Geraldine, the evil stepsister whose feet were too big for the glass slip. Oh, never mind. Soon to join the family were two boys, Jackie and Larry. Jack was a black and white little boy who would one day grow up to be a milkman. See? Annette's other brother was younger. Everybody thought he was going to become a rabbi one day. But instead, after a brief detour through the 1970s, he became a policeman, then a football player, then a dealer in Vegas before enjoying some success as a magazine cover model, who briefly had his own show on cable, before retiring penniless somewhere in the United States. Annette was a very good girl. She worked hard in school, she was a very good daughter and a good sister, and she loved her family very much. With time, Annette became a kind of hot-looking 16-year-old girl, only to become a kind of skinny-legged, frizzy-haired, goofy-looking 18-year-old. And then, one day, Annette became a woman. She got her hair done real pretty, she got her eyebrows plucked, bought some lipstick, and stood behind some fancy flowers because she had fallen in love with the man of her dreams. But unfortunately, he was not Jewish, so it was back to the drawing board for Annette. In order to get her through this difficult time, Annette started a business, repairing turn-of-the-century ovens. But alas, she couldn't take the heat, so she had to get out of the kitchen. Her next job was on the bleeding edge of technology, exposing Annette to the most advanced equipment available at the time. It was glamorous work, and she got to meet some famous people, like Charlie McCarthy's big sister, Charlene. But Annette was still longing to meet the love of her life. So she took another bath, got all dressed up again, got her hair done, plucked her eyebrows, put on some lipstick, and this time she stood in front of some fancy floral wallpaper because she had met a cute boy who took himself much too seriously. His name was Marty, and he was in the army. He was like a general or something. He had his own horse, and he used to work on his own stagecoach. Martin was born in New York before they had any skyscrapers, and his mother's name was Frances, and his father was Harry. These New Yorkers were a peculiar breed. They lived in apartments, wore bow ties, ate with utensils, and said please and thank you. Well, Annette and Marty fell in love, and it wasn't long before they announced that they would be married. Even the Louisville Courier-Journal carried the big news. Annette took one more photo with her whole family, and then they got married. In October of 1954, Annette and Marty tied the knot. Aren't they a handsome couple? Well, in the next few years, the fun never stopped. They were partying all the time. Color photography was invented, but it was still pretty expensive. And they partied some more, and they went out to dinner all the time, and Marty let Annette see him without his shirt on. And then they got into some pretty weird stuff. Annette met all her in-laws, especially her mother-in-law. And they went to some fancy New York occasions, but the fun and games wasn't going to last forever. Something was missing, and that something was a picture of a baby. That special picture was of a baby named Kurt. And on that day, Annette had everything a woman could want: a baseball bat, a Hershey bar, and a pack of Lucky Strikes. And a handsome man, and a cute baby, and some awesome retro sunglasses. And best of all, a Jewish home. Oh, how she loved that little boy. In fact, it was 11 months before Annette got tired of Kurt, and that's when she decided to have one last pretty picture taken before her looks were ruined for good by having another baby. Kurt showed an interest in science at a very early age, taking meticulous measurements of the new baby. Her name was Ellenmira, and she was full of piss and vinegar, so they worked on that a little bit. Kurt's interest in medicine became apparent when he started playing doctor with his sister. And the family of 4 was doing great. Marty was clearly pleased as punch that the automatic shutter on his camera was working properly, and Annette was clearly a little tired. As the family grew, they needed more room, so they bought a little black and white house on Roslyn Avenue. So now, in addition to raising 2 small children, Annette had to keep a house clean. The fatigue got to her so badly that one fateful day she forgot to take her birth control pills. And I was born, very close to Hanukkah, apparently. Whenever Grandma would come to visit, Annette would put me in one of those little New York bow ties, make a big fancy meal, and drink bottle after bottle of Manischewitz wine. Marty sometimes would travel a lot. He had a lot of interesting jobs. Did you know that he was a private investigator? An agent for control working for Maxwell Smart? A man from U.N.C.L.E.? A Soviet spy? Meanwhile, Annette's children grew and grew and grew. And as her family grew, they had lots of good times along the way. Although sometimes it got a little ugly. It was always a lot of fun. But sometimes it did get pretty ugly. She always loved spending time with her family, with her sister, and her brothers, and her mother, and her mishpucha, and cousins, and nieces and nephews, and her friends, and especially with her husband Marty. Like any marriage, there were times when they were a little distant, and other times when they were very, very close. And that one time they were in jail. They were always together, wherever they went, and they were such a famous couple. Over the years, Annette's children kept growing up and up and up and up and up, and eventually they had children of their own. And they grew up really fast too. They're all cute and cuddly, and then bam. One minute they're fussy little children, and the next minute they're grown up and perfectly well behaved. Yeah, right. Oh, and this is a picture where my wife Jody looks really beautiful, so I thought I should include it. Now, where was I? So, one thing Annette realized along the way, history has a way of repeating itself. You put your hands on your child's shoulders and capture the moment, and it seems like only a moment later, your children are doing the same thing with their children. And the more she thought about it, the more puzzled she became. On the one hand, people grow up so fast, but on the other hand, some people act like children forever. So what does it all mean? Nobody knows. Life has its ups and downs, and if you learn something worthwhile, pass it down to the next generation. Be sure to give thanks for all your blessings so you can make your own paradise here on earth. Enjoy your family and your friends, and celebrate the special times with the people you love, like Annette's birthday.